like,
gives me time to fix the hair. This drag is like, I'm like,
OMG. Okay. We're so sorry for starting late. We had technical difficulties, everyone. But thank you for tuning in. I'm going to get started by introducing myself. My name is Audrey, and of course, I'm here with Tatiana, my partner in crime. I started the blog, then came Roatan, to talk about my journey about moving from New York to the beautiful island of Roatan as a Garifuna, first generation Garifuna woman. And so, yeah, that's pretty much it. Tati?
all right, everyone. I am a brain education numerologist, intuitive life coach. So I work on helping you with your physical body, your energy body, as well as your emotional body, known as your spirit most of the time. So so pretty much, I just want to just say that real quick before we can get started. So we can talk later if you have questions about what I do.
Awesome. Yes. So today we have two powerful Garifuna women who I love. So let's get started with Isidra. Isidra is a scientist and an artist. I don't even know how that goes together, but that's one of the main reasons why I was so interested in reaching out to her. Isidra, say hello to the people, please.
Hi, hello everyone. My name is Isidra Sabio. I was born and raised in Trujillo, Honduras. I have a bachelor's in agricultural engineering, and also I have a master's of science. I did a master's in medical entomology, and also I work as a data manager in a research study here in North Carolina. So, and also I'm an artivist, and artivist is the combination of art and activism. And the reason why I call it that is because all the images that I create, it comes with a purpose. It's part of an objective to increase representation of people that look like us, especially when we grew up in a society when the people from our community was not represented in a positive way. So part of my art is to create a response, is to create a conversation and start discussing about the history, the struggles of the Garifuna people and the Afro-Latinx communities in the Americas. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm so happy to be with you guys. I look forward to this conversation.
Nice. Yes. Sulma, Miss Afro-Latina Superpower in New York. Tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I am a proud Garifuna woman. I was born in Honduras, raised in the South Bronx, still living here. I am an author of the No Pelo Malo collection, which includes Pelo Malo no existe, bad hair does not exist. My hair comes with me, shifting the paradigm of what success looks like. Both authored by Isidra Sabio, who happens to be like one of my closest friends in the whole wide world, my BFF, my ace boon coon. I said ace boon coon was not a positive thing, but we made it positive. I mean, I'm also a Black Indigenous person of color, and I'm a speaker. I do speaking engagements within corporations with their diversity and inclusion and employment resource and affinity groups, and just making sure that we all understand that it's about the human experience that connects us all, and that's what we're able to bring out through the books that I authored and Isidra illustrated. And I just want to say, Audrey and Tatiana, thank you so much for having us. You're both like Garifuna powerhouses, and I think Isidra will definitely agree that we're always excited to share a platform together and share a story. We talk all the time, so this is fun.
Yeah, nice. Thank you, ladies, for accepting and for joining us. Now, how did you ladies connect? Tatiana and I, we collaborate. We love collaborations, and it's always interesting to hear how this collaboration started. So, how did you and Isidra start working together?
Well, Isidra will tell the story of 20 years ago.
Yes.
when we met, but I could definitely tell you that you know how the book started and the book collaboration started, right? It was literally that my caregiver used the colloquial term "pelo malo" to describe my daughter's tousled hair, right? And I used the word colloquial because that's exactly what it is. It was a tradition that kept going generation after generation, right? And type of caregiver that as a mom, we knew that she respected our values. This is the reason why she was able to spend 8+ hours of our day with our daughter. We trusted her wholeheartedly. She's the best person in the world. But when she used that term, you know, I knew that I had to respond from a place of love. Like I could be indignant, but in my anger, do not sin, right? And I had to make sure that my response is going to actually dictate how my daughter responds in the future. And I had all these little kids looking at me. So I needed to make sure that they understood that we can respond from a place of love. And what I told her was, you know, I pelo largo, corto, and started just giving her different terminologies for hair and ended with pelo malo no existe. And I also raised my hand and said, listen, I'm going to find you a book and I'm going to come read to, you know, to the kids, and we can empower our kids not together as and it opened up a beautiful conversation with her. And she said, Sulma, you know, my father was an Afro Latino from Puerto Rico, but every time he combed his hair, he would always say pelo malo. So that's what I grew up hearing. Again, a colloquial term. And had I not responded from that place of love, I would not have known her story. I would have prejudged this woman thinking she didn't like Black people.
Exactly.
Right? So I think that as women to women, we need to really have conversation out of places of love. So I couldn't find the book, right? I sourced a couple of ones, but many of them were like too poetic for me. And I'm, you know, I was raised in the Bronx. I'm straightforward. It's like, you know, we had the poetry and we still got issues. So right? So I wrote the book in Spanish. My spirit person said, you got a pen, you got a paper, and escribirlo, and I wrote it in Spanish. My husband was sitting right next to me, and I read it to my husband. He's like, babe, I think you got something. And I called the only illustrator I knew, Isidra Sabio, immediately after. And then and Isidra said yes, and that's my part of the story. Isidra has her part of the story.
Yeah, so Sulma said that I was going to start 20 years ago. I'm going to start 40 years ago.
Well, Black don't crack and brown don't frown.
Yes, you know, ever since I can remember, I've been drawing. And, you know, growing up in Honduras in the 80s, you will see how the representation of members of our community was. It was not positive. It was not good. I didn't like it. I didn't have the words to put it. I didn't have I mean, I was a child. I couldn't put it into words. But as a response, at a very early age, I started drawing members of my community. I used to sit hours by the beach and started drawing the people how I saw them, beautiful with a lot of dignity. So I've been in that quest since I was a little girl. Now, as an older person, and I started improving my abilities. I met Sulma 20+ years ago. You know, and since then we have been in a journey of emotional growth together. And I think that we have individual goals, but they have been very similar. And at some point, we always meet somewhere and we are able to collaborate. It could be in a personal way. It could be in a professional manner in this way. It could be in this ideology that we have that we need to protect, and we need to enhance the self-esteem of children. And I think that was how we are able to collaborate, because I have been trying to do that since I was a little girl, and she's doing that for her kids. And now in the process, I became a mother too. So now I have another reason why I have to keep up with this work, and that's the reason that we have keep collaborating and not just collaborating in a way in projects that will bring something economically to you, but also in the personal way. We still collaborating, because I think that Sulma is one of the few friends that I have that I can call and say, like, I need motivation today. Oh, I have 10 videos that you can watch. And I absolutely love that, because I think that to be able to grow and to do things for the community, we have to collaborate, but we also have to elevate each other.
Yes. That is so powerful. Isidra, you said, how long ago did you move to the US?
11 years ago.
Wow.
I moved to the US 11 years ago permanently. Yes.
And you got so much done in 11 years. And you're also a mom and you're also a wife. There's so many Hondureños or Garifuna people from Guatemala, Belize, wherever, and they moved and they feel overwhelmed. They don't know where to start. You've done so much in 10 years. What are 2 or 3 things that has helped you accomplish everything that you accomplished within those 10, 11 years?
Yeah. Um, One of the things that I always do is that we stand in the shoulders of those that came before us, right? So we are not a self-made product, but we also are the people that carry the legacy of the people that came before you. So I was lucky to grow up in a family where education was everything. We had a loving, respectful relationship and everything, but academic success was something that was celebrated, and that's something that we as children we understood at a very early age. That if you get good grades, I mean, your family is gonna celebrate you. So it's something that we always look after. And I always said that we grew up in this family where men and women were expected to do the same thing. There was not a different, like women are supposed to stay home. No. You guys are supposed to have a career. You have the possibilities. We are going to support you. So we always look after that. So like I said, I did my bachelor's in agricultural engineering in an international university based in Honduras.
Okay.
From there, I started applying to different internships, and then eventually I applied for a master's degree, and I was able to get a scholarship because of the relationship that universities here have with the university in Honduras. After I graduated, I went back to Honduras. I was working with the United Nations for like almost 3 years. And then I decided that the social economic situation in Honduras was not the place where I wanted to be. There was a lot of violence that was coming down the pipeline. I didn't feel safe. So I called Sulma, of course. I called Sulma and I said, like, you know what? I just don't feel safe. I have I'm going to travel to the US. I'm going to move. I'm going to leave Honduras. And she said, like, of course, come. I'm going to take care of everything. So I was able to stay for a year in Sulma's parents' house. And I don't know if you have met Sulma, but you haven't met her mom. Her mom became a mentor to me. She's an amazing woman with an amazing history. And she came to this country, and Sulma can tell you her story with so little, and she was able to build so much. And she will give you ideas. She will give you hints, and not just poetic ideas, but it's just practical things that you can implement in your life. She will show you the way. And also through the relationship with Sulma, I started volunteering at the Garifuna Coalition, and I met Jose Francisco Avila, who also became a mentor to me. So between Sulma's mother, Jose Francisco Avila, and Sulma's father, those were the best hands that I could fall into the state, because they helped me. They said that sometimes you have to shoot for the stars, and you might not get there, but you're in the way to the moon. So that's what happens to me. I couldn't fall in better hands, because at that moment, like you said, it's very confusing. Especially when you leave your entire family behind, you leave your culture, you leave your language, you leave everything. So it's a very nerve-wracking situation. It's very emotionally heavy. So I couldn't fall in better hands that kept me motivated through the process, that will always inspire me to do better and find better opportunities for me. So through that is when I started building little by little, but it's because, like I said, we stand in the shoulders of those that came before us.
That's right.
Wow, that's a wonderful story. Nice.
I love her story. I love
Feels so warm inside.
Yeah.
Soon, Dati, you have a question?
I'm actually enjoying just listening. Usually I have like a lot of things to say, but I'm so grateful that you guys are providing your wisdom right now. I want to go back to Sulma relating to this. So I'd like to talk about also healing, right? But from a practical place, I always tell everyone the healing is problem solving, right? So there's a dis-ease that happened, right? Something came up, especially when you even heard when she used the phrase "pelo malo," right? So like sometimes we feel like, okay, it's something that we think first as parents, as caretakers about our children, right? But ultimately it affected us first. Right? It affected us. So even the fact that you were pulled, right, to write this book, I want to hear from you, like what self-healing you felt that you had to go through in order for you to deliver. Like
I
in
think
what way it affected you.
I think it was definitely a long journey for me, even to get to a place to respond from a place of love. Like
Mhm.
Isidra and I would tell you, like we've been doing personal development. I think since she probably 11 plus years. I mean, I'm talking about listening to Les Brown, the Jim Rohns, and making sure we have mentors and the right people. And she's right when she spoke about my mom and her experience. You see, my mom was overlooked for a promotion in a
Mm.
financial institute back in the late 70s, early 80s in Honduras. And luckily she had a, I guess, good enough relationship with her boss to the point where she says, you know, listen, I qualify for this position. I want to apply. And her boss was like, we know you do. As a matter of fact, you qualify more than all of these men that we've been interviewing, but we can't give you the position because you're a Black Garifuna woman. I also
Wow.
know you have family in the States. You know, your father's over there. I would highly recommend that you go to the United States, Blanca. But this is what you're going to do. Listen to my instructions. You're going to leave your children in the hands of your family here. You're going to
Mm.
go to the States, you're going to learn the language, and you're going to go to school and you're going to graduate college. You will do just fine, right? So then she had to have a good conversation with my dad, and and they decided that my mom will venture off first. So we went to
Mhm.
Santa. We were living in San Pedro, so they put us in the care of my grandma and my aunts in a village called Santa Fe Colon, and we were
Mhm.
able to stay there. And my mom followed the instructions to the T. I actually have no recollection of ever seeing my mom until the age of 5 to 6 when I got to the States. My dad mentioned that he couldn't come. My mom said that she did go back to Honduras to visit. I have no
Mhm.
recollection of that. My dad said he couldn't come back to Honduras to visit because he wasn't able to let us go another time. So
Mm.
so that journey alone, the fact that they had to just be courageous, right, to make that ultimate sacrifice, a sacrifice to this day I cannot make, and I'm gonna
Wow.
say right now, I will not make.
Mhm.
I'm not leaving my kids,
Mhm.
you know. So it's but then you go back further, right? Like our Garifuna community, what we were put in 11 convoy ships with about 2,443 of us, and we had to have courage and resilience, and
Mhm.
and we could, and those ships, if you had corpse in those ships, you had to, you know, toss your family member and your community overboard because the corpse couldn't stay in the ships, you know. So it's like, but when we came to Honduras, we were not enslaved, we were left alone, we ended up having these beautiful oceanfront lands while
Mhm.
still maintaining our richness, our culture, our beauty. And what kept us going is that community, right? So those that the community is my foundation, the courage is my foundation, the love is my foundation, right? And I praise God every single day, you know, to for giving me this rich history, these people, right? And it's about sharing it. So when Isidro called and said that, for me, it was just like, yeah, it was natural because our
Mm.
foundation as Garifuna people has never been selfish. It has never been ego, and it has always been about community. So if we
Yes.
understand that foundation, we may with. So I think that my responsibility is to those 2,443 Garifuna and all of
Mm.
those shoulders that got us to this point, because they're depending on me and Isidra and Audrey and Tatiana to move us another 200 years. I
Mhm.
can't just think. It's not an isolation for me. It's not about Sulma, and it's not about my kids. It's about their kids,
Mhm.
right? And it's about the broader community. So I go with that to everything I do. Anything I touch, I go with those 2,000 plus shoulders. And but I hear them rooting. I hear them saying, "You can do this. You got this. We got this. You're not alone. This is who I'm going to put in your path. This is who you're going to work with. This is how you're going to
Mhm.
build community." So wherever you put me, I'm building community. because that is already in me. So there's a lot. There's a lot in the back.
Yes. And I agree with Sulma. Like we have similar, view of what the concept of success is. It's not just about you getting to a certain level, but it's what are you doing for others. As a Garifuna people, we have this strong foundation that success is a community thing. If we as a community are successful, then that's my concept of success. So that's the reason that we always go back, like, what are you doing for others? What am I doing for the children that have an amazing potential that are in our communities? So that again, I tell you, that's the reason that we collaborate together, because we have arrived individually to these points, and then we realize that we have a lot in common.
Right.
Wow, that was so inspirational, ladies.
Yes, it was.
I love it. I love it. Before we go to my next question on Tatiana's, we have comments, and so I'm just gonna go through the comments. Mickey, hello, hi Mickey. Mickey's from Ghana. Gifted by L. How you doing, L? Saludos, dice L. Mickey, oh thanks, thank you, Mickey. Laureen Peterson. Good evening, ladies.
Green.
Gifted by L. Wonderful story. I think she was talking about Isidra when she put that. Rose Lookbook. Good evening, ladies.
Hi.
Zapata. What a motivation for the Garifuna people to hear that there are opportunities to migrate to the U.S. legally by studying, through work, and getting an education. That's powerful, because right now a lot of Garifuna people are leaving illegally to the U.S. and we understand why they leave. We all agree, right, that there's a lack of opportunities in Honduras. But when you leave illegally, the opportunities that I see that I said, taking advantage of certain programs and colleges, it's kind of limited. So, I totally agree with Austria. Perfect timing. Rosanna Harris. Hello, ladies.
Oh, she said it's Norma. Norma from, I believe Norma.
Oh, Norma. Hi, Norma.
Yeah, from Botanica Natural.
Yeah,
she was here with
has
us.
her own natural skin line, skin and it's like, skin and body. Natural products, nice. Elle says, as an entrepreneur, I am inspired by all your seal. I think it's a typo. Hey, you ladies are inspiring so many people. Tatiana and I are also into personal development, and it's what's gonna. We also into personal development because we can't make it on our own. With our own strength, we can't, and it's through God, through the books that we read, the people who inspire us. What can you say to our young Garifuna people to help them get through these, these tough times? What can you share with them? Any tips to get through what they're going through right now if they struggle?
Yeah, one of the things that I always said, it doesn't matter where you are right now, it's the north that you have, because we always stay true to the idea that we have of ourselves. So you might be going through a tough time right now, or you might be doing a work that you don't want to do right now, or it's not something that you are meant to be doing, but it's a step forward towards the goal that you might have overall. So the important thing is I always said, is always keep your north, because when I came here, it was not always, the opportunities and success is always come. It's a very not a straightforward path. And you have to go through different challenges. But, I always say, always keep your north, always know where you're going, always have that goal that you're working towards, because there are days that you're going to be crawling and there are days that you're going to be running, So for those days when you're crawling, you need that extra motivation. And that's the reason that I go, like you said, into personal development. I listen to motivational speaking almost every day of my life because there are days that are more challenging than others. And the challenges are different for different people. But I think that the important thing is that when you are in that quest to find that goal that you have, you're not gonna see things as failure, but as an opportunity to do the things differently, or as an opportunity to redirect your energy and your path. So, stay true to who you are. It doesn't matter how challenging the day is. If that day you can only do one thing to move you forward, just do one thing, and that you keep moving. One days are faster than others.
For me, it has to it's about the foundation, right? Like, I remember I didn't even understand my culture until I got to college. A professor literally told us, write about a culture, and I'm like, wait, I don't really know about my own, right? And that's not no fault of ours, because the books were not written about our history in Spanish. So even till this day, she's just fighting to get, Garifuna education and Garifuna history, taught in the schools in Honduras, right? So our brothers and sisters from Belize, for example, they know more their history than we do, because they were able to read the books about our story. And I've heard many people like my age group that was when they started doing the research on their culture because of college, right? But now we have the World Wide Web, and I want to encourage as many youth as possible, learn about who you are, learn our history, learn our culture, embrace the beauty of it, and embrace the resilience of it. I remember working in corporate America, and pretty much all my life, probably still to this day, I'm like definitely the only Garifuna, Black woman, chaparra, de todo un poco, from the Bronx in the room, right? But when I was younger, I would easily get intimidated, and I would hear all of these, white people speak about the universities that they went to, or the vacations they would take, and the more they would talk, the smaller I got. Right, I didn't survive in those environments because I didn't understand who I was. I didn't understand that we own oceanfront property, in a place that people are literally trying to steal from us because they couldn't look to negotiate with a Black person. You know what I mean? And I always say, I'm not selling my land. I could lease it, but I won't sell it. Remember that: lease it, don't sell. Okay. But just understanding who you are, and that you do have a purpose, and the purpose is to have your generation survive even more. If we have over 1 million Garifunas in the world, start identifying, right? And I noticed that a lot of people didn't identify. Even my own parents didn't identify because they couldn't defend the history because they didn't know it. We have no excuse. I remember my mentor, one of my mentors, Carlos Gamboa. He was he's an NYU graduate, and he went, I believe he also attended Harvard University, but he would come to the Garifuna Coalition to teach other youth. And he told the young people, put Garifuna on your resume. Put the word Garifuna on your resume, right? Only because that is a conversation starter. No one else is going to be Garifuna. Probably 99% of the time, you'll be the only Garifuna, but the conversation will be about your history. Tell me more. And if you're able to explain your history, your culture, the resilience, and all of these wonderful attributes that are now transferable skill set for this company, right? If she understands it, and he or she can explain it thoroughly, he or she will be a great representative in our, in our company, right? So then you're in with a high self-esteem, knowing that you're different and you're the one, and that you belong, right? Because it wasn't about the qualifications; it was about who you were. Victoria, right? So, and those are things that I put. I everything I do, every speaking engagement, I'm a proud Garifuna, born in Honduras. Proud Garifuna, and I'm going everywhere with that, right? And that was to open up more doors for us and to give everyone the courage to identify.
This
Yeah.
is really good. This is really
Yes.
good. I want to say something because one time there was an elder that I don't recall where I met this elder, but he's Garifuna, right? And he was mentioning I think the conversation was on like our color, like how to identify ourselves. Are we black? Are we this? Are we that? And I remember he said it so bluntly. He said, "You're Garifuna." I was like, okay, but what about if the color of my skin? He said, "Garifuna doesn't mean that you're black. It doesn't even mean that you dance this way or that you something," he said, but he said something along the lines that Garifuna is an essence. Being Garifuna is an essence, is like being rooted to like down to the roots. He said beyond your skin. It's like much deeper. And then that's why we are so powerful when we say Garifuna, because like you channeling like an energy force within you that like pulls like your ancestors to support you and to lift you up even in the midst of times that you may feel even confused or don't even feel like you have the guts to like confront or like speak out. Like the moment that you say Garifuna, he said you will feel lifted. You will feel capable of like even speaking, because even the native tongue has a particular vibration. And Audrey and I was just talking about that, and I was sharing with her because just like everyone here, I just started to get curious about our culture. And it was funny how people that I was serving, that I was taking care of and providing services for, they were the ones trying to figure out why they felt so much power coming from me. And I'm a very shy person. I stutter a lot. I really never understood myself that I was placed in the special ed system, you know and I was there because my family didn't know how to say this girl's gifted. They didn't know how to say that. They didn't know how to even defend our culture, right, our roots. Um so me being placed in special ed, I also started to feel like very little, very little. But even myself, eventually, as I started to like come out, I realized that there was a research that I did about our tongue, our native tongue, the Garifuna tongue. And it was talking about like speaking your native tongue is so crucial for your brain development, because it was saying that every time we speak our native tongue, we are activating different parts of the brain. And that really caught my attention. And they were saying that even English and other well, they said English has one of the I, I don't want to be disrespectful to all those that really appreciate English, but it was known to be one of the lowest vibrations. That's why there's no mantras in English. That's why there's no mantras in English. That's why mantras are always in a native tongue, because when you say it, you feel a vibration. And in English, how are you today? I'm fine. Like you don't feel
The
anything, but
jingle.
you got it, now you feel it.
Yeah, and just going back to that point, and one of the work that I've been doing for like the past few years is exactly that, because in my generation we have an excuse, right? The few books that came out were in the 80s. They came out in English. It was until like late 1990s when the first Garifuna history book in Spanish came out. It's the first one that I read. I think it was in 1996.
Mhm.
um so now we don't have an excuse to have our children not knowing our history. We have the internet, we have so many books and things like that. And and it has been proven for many research studies. And that's one of the things. I'm more data driven. So many studies have proven that once that you have a cultural identity, a positive cultural identity
Mhm.
that's highly associated with high performance in school, high academic achievement, increase in like lifetime earnings and the possibility of getting out of poverty. But the fact that we live in a country, and I don't know, I couldn't speak for Guatemala. I don't know exactly what the situation that is going on with the educational system as it pertains to the Garifuna history. But in Honduras, it's until now that they have one page in 20 plus year, 30 plus year, one page talking about the Garifuna history. When the Garifuna history is so amazing. I mean, we were a very strong ethnic group that fought against the most powerful country in the world in the 1700s. You know, the most powerful country in the world. We are talking about the British Empire. You know, St. Vincent, what is the Garifuna motherland, the last place in the Caribbean to be colonized because our people were fighting for that land. And they were very creative, they were very smart with very limited resources. They were able to overpower for so many years the most powerful country in the world until we couldn't do it any longer. So we got to Honduras not as asking refuge, but we got that we went to Honduras in a context of fighting or survival, of people that were fighting for what they believe in, for their land. We didn't get there, you know, to dance punta. So that's the reason I get upset. I don't have anything against dancing punta. I love seeing people dancing punta, but that's just a tiny percentage of what the Garifuna people are, you know. So that's the part that I'm trying. We need to change the way that they teach about the Garifuna people in history, and it needs to be part of the curriculum, because guess what? What do they decide in at least in Honduras? That the puta is the Honduran dance. No, that's a Garifuna dance. If you're going to use it, let's talk about it in the history. Let's put it in context. Not just when a crucero comes, you're going to go and dance punta. No, I just, you know, we need to change that. I've been working towards that. There's still a lot of work to be done. There are other people also involved, but you know, there needs to be a more concentrated effort towards that.
And I agree with you, Isidra. You know, I love my community. I mean, esos tambores, forget about it. When I hear that caracol, the spirit, that's what it is. It's something very personal, right? It's something very personal to me, and I don't want to confuse our community in thinking that someone outside of community can come benefit monetarily over our spirituality, over something that is so personal. You know, I think as a community, we feel that we can have someone else, like white people, come or the mulattoes and control our narrative and start a business over our spirituality. And I encourage each and every one of us that, you know, if we are going to dance, establish a business and hire your own people on your own terms. Right? Because right, like even when I go to the airport, I'm like, well, where are the Garifunas artesanos? I don't even. I didn't see it. What was it? 2 years ago when I went to Honduras.
Yeah.
Where are they? Right. So even then, we have to just start opening our eyes. Like, don't give away. I remember going to proclaim Garifuna Heritage Month in our state capital, and one of the Black elected officials came to us before the white elected officials started coming. He's like, whatever you do, guys, please, whatever you do, don't give them your spirituality. That's all I'm gonna say. What? And then the white people started tripping, and that for me was so powerful, because this elected official understood that is how we can easily get conquered. That is a precious gift, and we must be very, very careful on not to put it in somebody's hands that does not understand our history, where it comes from, and that is the way our ancestors speak to us. That is a very delicate situation, and only Garifunas should be the only ones benefiting this, because when we use our culture to benefit our communities, to pay our communities, to create jobs in our communities, that is how we grow, right? Because we're thinking money, but we have the power to think creatively, strategically, and monetarily. And that is the power of the Garifuna person.
That's exactly why I'm still here in Roatan. People ask me, how you move from New York to Roatan? Well, because 3 years into it, I was sick and literally sick and tired of seeing my people 5 o'clock in the morning, go to the top of the road to hail a ride all the way to the cruise ship port, dance at the cruise ship port underneath the hot sun, barefoot. Like my cousins would show me the calluses underneath her foot. One of them had to quit because the sun was making them sick all day. They wouldn't give them no money, no pay, no food, no water, no shade. They would just go purely for tips. One time a group went in Jalon, they got a ride, and the car got into it got into an accident. 2 of them were critically injured. Them trying to go and dance punta for tips. And so when I started seeing that, I got angry. I got goosebumps right now. It upset me. It pissed me off, to be exact.
Yeah.
And that's when I decided to, you know what, we need to make this business a cultural center. I didn't come to Honduras to serve another beer. Everybody sells beer over here. Everybody come and see punta. No, we got to do something different. And that's when me and my sister were like, let's do a cultural center. And you know, when we first started, we got negative feedback. That was the least amount of money we made from the time we moved. Nobody was supporting. But at the end, we started getting support not only from our people, but from foreigners. And we reopening this year. But my point is, you're so right, Sulma, about us being the ones to show our culture. I'm not saying nobody else could dance punta or could speak the language. But when it comes to like, especially monetizing, we have to step up and take over. I tried to sell a tour to a lady to come to the cultural center. You know what she told me? For the Garifunas, we don't give more than $2, maybe $1.50. I was like, what? Nah. You know what? I don't want your tour. I must have X'd out like over 10 providers because they came to me with that energy. And that's what forced me to get into digital marketing, which is my other business. So if you don't want to sell mine the way it's supposed to be sold, my culture, I don't want your business. I don't want your business. And so that's when I got into digital marketing, started promoting ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we have to do, right? And part 2 to that is make sure like we're constantly sharing, you know, your tours, Audrey, with more people. It's going to take all of us as a community to make sure each and every one of us is successful. Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, I've been wanting to do a cultural center in Santa Fe. So I spoke to my parents about you already, Audrey. So it's like, it's going to have to be a way to connect and franchise that joint.
Yeah. Yes,
right?
we're going to connect.
Yeah.
And we need to put more paintings in there.
Yes.
You know, through art, sometimes it's easier to transmit ideas and transmit, history and culture. And definitely, I think that we have an amazing culture. I think that we have a lot to say. I mean, let's talk about the Garifuna, music, dance, and language being a masterpiece of the oral and intangible heritage of humanity. I mean, how many cultures can they say that and have that in country that is not valued? I mean, we have an amazing, rich culture that is not valued in the countries that we are from, sadly. But I think that it's time for us to take control. And I think that what you're doing, Audrey, is amazing because you not just have story to tell, but also you are showing the path that many of us could take.
Yeah. It's so rich. Even the food. I remember there's a magazine here. I think they're in the U.S. Sabor magazine. They went to my mom's house. My mom makes like the bomb hudutu, right? And Sabor magazine. After they went to my mom's house, they took a trip to Honduras to taste the different hudutus, right? From different villages, and it's like, but that's how precious our culture is to the world. The world
Yes.
understands that when Anthony Bourdain, que descanse en paz, from CNN, came to the Bronx, he came to the Bronx to taste Garifuna cuisine, right? So, like, our culture is valued by others. I think it's necessary for us to start valuing our culture and putting a value to it. When people outsiders see us, they see chi-ching, 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 and how do I take advantage and not give back, right? And I remember even through the Garifuna Coalition, Isidra would know, we would have all these colleges. Hey, we're studying out the Garifuna, the Garifuna community. Can you talk to us? Can you give us an interview? And I started asking, well, what are you giving back to my community? We have an event over here. Can your institution sponsor this event? So you mean to tell me that you want to come and, take from us? You obviously don't know our history.
Mm.
You don't know that the British tried to take from us and did not. And genocide was not accomplished and slavery was not accomplished. So what makes you think? Go back to the Google and research us before you come and ask us something and you're not giving back to our community. I send them back because we'll write it. Thank you.
Yeah.
For my story.
Yeah.
Thank you and no thank you. Because it's not mutually beneficial and our community cannot afford to lose. There's too few of us at this point. At this point, we are endangered. We cannot afford to do things the wrong way.
Yeah, definitely. I agree 100%. I remember with Sulma, we used to go to those businesses that were being patronized by our people. And we were like, these many people come here. This amount of money is being spent. What are you doing for the community? Remember that? And this is, I'm not going to say name. I'm not going to say the name of the business, but every week there are like 2 or 3 people who die that are being seen in that funeraria. You know, it's like, listen, you're making like at least $50,000 a year out of our people. What are you giving back? I'm like, no, I'm going back. I'm not leaving this place without this person, this business giving money because, you know, if you're going to support your business, what are you doing for our community?
And we were successful. I think Isidra and I were probably still in like our late 20s. And this was us with, como dice mi mamá, no tengo pelos en la boca. You know, like, we just like, because we don't lose, and we haven't lost. Our history does not dictate us ever losing. Now. You know, so it's like, that's why it's important. Know your history, know your resilience. You know, at the end of the day, you do not want to live your life with the weight of regret. It's too heavy. You know, I don't believe in we should have, could have, would have. It's too heavy. I'm not carrying that on to the
No. And I have a question for you, for the both of you actually, relating to like, how would you recommend to go about collaboration with other Garifunas?
I think, okay, I didn't see that. Sorry.
I mean, there are different ways. And one of the simplest things is just to reach out. You know, I collaborated with different Garifunas in different type of, you know, one of the things that I dislike is when people say, you know, de Garifuna como el cangrejo, you know, that always pull you back. That is something that is fundamentally wrong. That is not right. That doesn't exist. And it's something that we keep perpetuating just by talking, because some of my biggest collaborators, some of my biggest supporters, and some of the people that have helped me the most have been Garifuna people. You know, so it's easy to collaborate with Garifuna people. There are so many Garifuna people doing amazing things, and sometimes they have to do it outside the community because they think that the resources don't exist within our community, and it's out there. Reach out. You know, whenever I create an event, whenever I'm thinking about doing something, I reach out to different people, other artists. You know, last year I put together, and you know, there's a group of Garifuna women who paint. Sometimes people think that I'm the only one. There are people that went to grad school to study art, you know, who are Garifuna. Let's work together. You know, everybody has a different style. Everybody has a different story. Let's collaborate together. When I launched my books, I worked with other Garifuna people that had a business. Somebody has a children entertainment business at that time. Guess what? Let's do this together. And you get your money, I get my money, and you know, those two things go together. Right now, I just submitted a big project to the American Embassy to create some, you know, Garifuna theme and inspire murals. And the people that I put in that proposal are Garifuna artists, because I want them to be part of this, so we can keep growing as a community. You know, let's not just keep the resources to ourselves and bring it to other communities, but the simple act of reaching out. There are so many resources within our community, so many amazing progressive people, and we are here. You know, so my secret to collaborating with Garifuna people: reach out.
Okay. You hear it, guys.
Isidra's 100% right. I go also with the mentality of mutually beneficial relationships. I am a huge fan of like nobody takes advantage of anybody. Everybody's time is valuable.
Yes.
There is an opportunity, to make monetary profit. It is shared. It is not for any one person. When I'm always weary of language, right? Because words are very powerful. So when I hear a person saying los garífunas son como los cangrejos, I picture myself as a mirror, and I'm like, you must be looking at yourself. And for that reason, I cannot collaborate with you because we're already not on the same page. I feel like cangrejo speaks cangrejo language. Right? So I'm just like, no. I collaborate with like-minded people,
yes,
right? That like me, like Isidra, for example, it's like she always wants to give back, and there's always has to be like a giving back component. Like anything we do, anything we touch, if you don't believe in like mutually beneficial collaboration, empowering one another, and a give back component, I will not work with you. Because I don't like being taken advantage of, and there is no way that I'm gonna let anyone take advantage of my community. Not even my own community can take advantage of my community. Not on my watch. Not on our watch. We will call you out. We'll call you out really fast, right? So I think, and reach out. Right, because you never know who knows who, and I think like through our books and through our collaborations, through Isidra's paintings, I think we're calling the Garifunas out. It's like we need more of you. We've met so many people in corporate America, but we've also met so many Garifuna women that are like on the grind and men on the grind, making sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do to get their kids through school, right? But if I have opportunities out there, it's my job to go out there to my other opportunities to make sure that we're prepared to give them scholarships. So it's just like there's a collaboration on every aspect. And I definitely start with my community. But I also know that it's my responsibility to elevate my community. So anything and everything I touch is going to be towards that purpose.
Exactly. That's awesome. We're going to go through the comments, and then afterwards, Isidra and Sulma, please share how we could support you, where we could buy your books, your paintings. Okay, so let's go through the comments. They want our land because they know it's special. Yeah, that is so true. I mean, how many
know it's special?
That's the problem. Understand that. Do you know how many Black communities are on the beach?
But it's not just that. I mean, right now, like one of the things that people talk about in the international arena and cooperation and financing is global warming. Garifuna people, indigenous communities have been living in complete harmony with nature, for centuries. So we got it all figured out. We those lands are amazing, are paradise, because we have taken care of them for centuries.
Yes.
So now that's the new gold. In the what year, like 1500s, when Honduras was being colonized, Trujillo, which is one of the most beautiful beaches in Central America, that was the first capital of Honduras, but they left Trujillo because the gold was in Tegucigalpa, and that's how they left the capital. So they had their opportunity 500 years ago, and we took care of it. So now it belongs to us.
Yes.
And it's beautiful because we kept it that way.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say about that.
Mickey says, Garifuna always catches my attention. That's when you ladies were talking about being Garifuna as a conversation starter. That's so true. Okay, Elle says, still do. Any chance I get, I'm educating someone who doesn't know. And it's always amazing to see how people get intrigued by our story. Yes, every time, never fails.
Yeah, we're the ultimate bridge builders. We know how to navigate and adapt to any and every society. Again, the skill set that we have is beyond understanding.
Yes. Frederick Munson, wow, you ladies are amazing, very inspiring. Elle, rooted from the soul of our ancestors. Yep. Norma, our culture is amazing. It's beautiful. Mickey says, well, I'm always happy that I'm able to speak different languages. It's a gift we have to hold in high esteem. So true. Elle says, my sons are born here in the US, but they identify with Garifuna because I have always drilled them with our history. It's always so refreshing to see them embrace their Gari roots. Nice. I commend you, Audrey.
Sorry, Audrey. Use as
Go ahead.
a not shameful promotion. The only book that is out there for children 8 years or 7 years and older that's explain the Garifuna history for children in English and Spanish, I wrote it precisely because of that. How can we start sharing our culture and teaching our children in a very digestible way? You know, what Garifuna is, not just about our history, but our food, even our cosmovision, the way that we perceive, you know, society and the world. You know, the only book that is out there for children that age, like 7 to 10 years old, or even 11 and 12, is that book, and it's available on Amazon. You know, anybody that wants to get it, it's just like We Are Garinagu. Somos Garinagu is in English, Spanish. If you want to keep talking to your children and go a little bit more into a little bit of detail to the age level, is there.
Agreed. Absolutely.
Thank you. Laureen Peterson, Master Tatiana, I am grateful to have you as my sister Nim. This forum is important in educating me in such a rich culture. Blessing to all. Keep up the good work and keep on sharing. Nice. Elle,
Can I also say one thing that just came to mind? We as Garifunas, although we're adaptable, we imitate horribly. Like it's like we do. We can't imitate any other culture because it just doesn't go good for us. You know, when we adapt, you know, if it's not positive, like things don't go well for us. When our kids come here and start, you know, imitating like the Americanized culture, they're like, they don't feel comfortable. I didn't feel comfortable. Something is off. Something is not like aligned, right? And I think we were meant to be aligned with our spirituality, with our ancestors, with what our purpose is, and the gift of the culture that we were born into. When we start imitating other things, like it takes longer to get back to the root, right? So just be Garifuna, whether you know the language, whether you know how to dance, the resilience is within you, and your history is within you, and your ancestors is within you. We're a lot bigger than and greater than what, you know, and we can't minimize that by imitating other cultures. Just be true to who you are. We can't avoid it.
That is so true. Thank you. Elle says, I am especially proud of your commitment to go home and make strides with the Cultural Center. Thank you, Elle. Austria, would love to do an exhibition of the books and products. Perhaps we can do a women's conference and unite forces.
Yes.
Collaboration.
Yeah.
Yes.
This, yes, nothing better than using the resources around us to eat. In our village, San Antonio, no one goes hungry. That is so. I spent 5 months in Santa Fe. I just came back in February. Let me tell you, we got our plantains from the right off the tree, all the yerbas to make the soups, the fish right from the water. Every day, our family was killing some animal, a chicken, a cow. Like there was too much food, and all I saw was money in my hand, but food on my plate. I'm like, this is good. This is good stuff. We got everything we need back home for real.
Yeah.
And neighbors take care of each other. Yes, Dioxy. Hey, cuz the story we have to tell is our greatest asset and our greatest inheritance that we can pass down. Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So
You know, it's funny because like my aunt that raised me, she used to always tell me, Tatiana, she used to tell me that I would never be hungry. Growing up, she would always tell me that. She said, I don't care where you go or whatever happens to me, but you will never be hungry. Don't forget who you are. And that right there is something that I probably didn't understand at the time that she told me. But of
Mm-hmm.
course, as I started to develop and started to realize that my whatever I was feeling or whatever energy I was holding was not something that I created, but was inherited to me, I started
Mm-hmm.
to really understand. And ever since then, like people will always ask me, Tatiana, why you feel so rich? Even when I'm people, I won't have not a dime in my pocket, but never ever have I ever been hungry,
Mhm.
ever. And I'm
Yeah.
really grateful to that.
Yeah. We're
Yeah,
so
definitely.
privileged.
I have visited more than 19 Garifuna villages in Honduras, and I had never seen a homeless or somebody that is not,
Mhm.
well fed in a Garifuna community.
Mhm.
We might have limited resources, but we
Mhm.
share them. And once again, we go back to that concept of
Mhm.
success is a community thing. It's a
Yeah.
community success.
Yeah.
It's not a personal concept.
Mhm. And Isidra, it's interesting how, like, I think the world's perception of what we have, or at least the picture they want to paint in our mind, is that we have limited resources. We have unlimited resources with unlimited potential. And I think what's limited is that we're forgetting how to work it.
Mm.
Right. So, and it goes back to what you said, Isidro. Like, listen to the motivations. Read books. Like, learn certain things. Googlearlo. How do I replan and maintain, the lands of my ancestors if no one is here to teach me? Right. If we can use our cell phones and the WhatsApp app para cosas that don't enrich us, I think we need to make technology work on our behalf,
Mhm.
and bring up our community as opposed to breaking our communities and the riches down. Because the more we focus on that, the more we focus on limitation. How can we have like the limitless world wide web of a plethora of information, and we're talking about we have limitations in our community? No, we don't. We have
Mhm.
ocean. We fish. Right? We have lands that haven't been maintained for years. We have that. We have skill sets. I remember when I was like one of my moments of unemployment. I had several. It's okay. One of my moments of unemployment, I remember I'm like, Dad, my family needs to eat. I need to do something. And I learned to cook with my mom. So I reached out to one of my friends who worked for a nonprofit organization. They were going to have a meeting. I'm like, can I cook for you guys? Like, so you're right. We never went hungry. And I'm just like, I got some money because I have a skill set and I can cook. Right. I see all of my beautiful Mexican sisters and brothers out there. They're coming from another country, indocumentado. They have, they set up shop vendiendo sus tamales in every corner. Right? Like they're resourceful. They're picking up bottles, in the streets because each plastic bottle is 5 cents. They're not embarrassed because
Mhm.
they
Yeah.
know they're supporting their communities. This is how they're going to build wealth in this country. This is how they're going to put their kids. Like, what are we embarrassed about? Right?
Mhm.
And I think we shouldn't be ashamed. And I think we got to do anything and everything possible in the most positive way to survive and thrive. Right?
Yeah.
So you throw us plastic bottles, we're gonna get 5 cents.
Listen.
Yeah. And also, I think that it is important in this conversation to highlight the work that have been the amazing and groundbreaking work that have been done for other organizations, like for example in Honduras that I know of, like the Ofrane. They have created and
Mhm.
sustained the self-sufficient Garifuna community that is called Vallecito.
Yes.
And Vallecito, they have a very innovative way. And even though they are not so much active in that sense on Facebook, I think that they are replanting, they are,
Mm.
we hear the baby. That's how we do it. That's
That's
how
how
we
we
do it. We
roll.
multitask.
Mhm.
You know, everything is getting done. So they have created. They are going back to working the land, and right now, like I don't know if you guys are aware, like in November last year, there were two hurricanes that went by to Honduras
Mhm.
2 weeks
Mhm.
apart, I think. And there
Yeah.
were many of our brothers and sisters, Garifuna brothers and sisters in San Pedro Sula that lost everything that they have built for so many
Mhm.
years, including their jobs because we are in the middle of a pandemic. So Vallecito opened the door for those families to go
Mhm.
back. I'm not going to charge you anything. Come back home, be part of our community. Let's go back to our land that we have been working on. and the people that were left homeless by the flood, and they didn't have more resources, single mothers, families with father and mothers and things like that. They went back to that community and they said, we are waiting for you here. You have a roof over your head. You are going to have food in your plate. We have a school. They have a school already set up. That we assist with some, materials like books and pencils and, things like that. But there are people out there doing the work. And sometimes we believe because it's not on social media, it doesn't exist. I mean, in every community, there are visionaries and there are people out there in the field doing the actual work. So I think that, this conversation is good, but also we have to highlight that those efforts being done by those, and people know that they exist.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That's fantastic.
Can I add something to that? So currently for myself, I chose to embark in what we call like a mastery journey of personal development. So I study a lot of the earth element to really help me like reconnect, right? So one of the organizations that I'm a part of is called Earth Citizen, right? Where we don't divide or separate ourselves from where we were born, where we were raised, but to just know that we are citizens, right? That means we not even permanent on this earth. We will eventually transcend and go. And I am very fortunate to be a part of so many organizations that are doing so much of the work that not many people would ever know about because it's not on social media, it's not out there. But we are training. Like I told Audrey knows, like I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I'm training by myself in my home, right? And then my team come together and we train about like 6:30, 7 o'clock, in the morning. And people do not know what we're doing, but what we're doing is that we sending energy, we are accumulating energy, we are just trying to like straighten ourselves. And I always tell people that waking up at 5 is not only a time because it's good for you, right, we have an understanding that waking up early is good for your body. However, it's also an energetic, like a very powerful time because most people are sleeping. Most people are sleeping. So usually by 5 and 6 o'clock in the morning is where you can hear your thoughts, where you can really hear your thoughts and not the overwhelming information that you're getting from social media that's just, taking over. So it's very important that people know that these things are happening, whether people are aware of it or not. So I agree with you, Isidra.
That is so true. We just have two more comments before closing. Elle says, I am creating a network of artisan women to use as vendors when I curate gift presentations. So Elle, get in contact with Sulma and Isidra. Their contact information is in the description box, okay? Mickey says, I always think Garifuna are similar to Ashantis in Ghana. We work hard, so we never go hungry. Yes, that is so true. Well, this has been so amazing. I feel so inspired. Even with my baby crying, I'm still happy. Isidra and Sulma, please tell us where we could find you, where we can buy your products. Please share.
Yeah. Well, number one, I'm glad the baby is with us. I think everything that we're saying is getting built into the subconscious. So that is one powerful individual. I don't think the baby would have it any other way. She belongs here. I'm not sure it's a boy or girl. I'm sorry. The baby belongs here.
Girl.
Oh, girl. She belongs here. She knows she has to be here. But so thank you for having her here. We really, this is important. But you can get my books. You could just go to nopelomalo.com and you'll get, you can get our books through there for sure. And engagement is important. So if you go to social media, nopelomalo_Sulma, and just engage, like, and follow it. And most importantly, I think follow all of us. Follow Isidra, Audrey, Tatiana, and this is how you can continue to support, even if it's just a like and a follow.
Yes, and also like most of the books that I done, all the books that I done, they are on Amazon. If you go to Amazon.com and search Isidra, all the books that I've written, they are gonna show up there, and most of them are geared towards like the younger, age children. Of like I always said, it's for children 5 to 100. So that category is there. And
Nice.
the paintings, I have few available paintings, and they are on Etsy and afropaintings.com. Afro paintings. So that one is no longer available. It's one of my favorites. Like you see, I'm a dark skinned woman, so I try to emulate my skin. I think that there's a lot of beauty in dark skin. So that's my motivation. And you can see her there in
I
my background.
love that.
I love her.
Beautiful.
Love it. Well, I think that's it for us. This has been, thank you, Isidra and Sulma, for joining Tati and I. I love it.
No, thank you so
Listen.
much for the invitation. We are so happy to share with you guys, and congratulations on the work that you guys are doing. I think it's necessary. Thank you.
Absolutely. We're here to support each other and one another. And you spoke about how do we collaborate. This is exactly how you reached out, and we're here. And I think that this is the beginning of an incredible journey and friendship. We're so grateful for both of you. Thank you so much. Isidra, see you on the next platform.
I know. I talk to this woman like 2 or 3 times a week.
Yeah. No, real quick fun. I know we got 30 seconds. Isidra always says, Sulma, if I can travel the world with one person, it'll be you. So it got manifested through the book. So now we're traveling globally together. We're together. Wow. So I'm very grateful to you, Isidra. Thank you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and that goes to show, like before you go, that goes to show you don't have to be the same. Because Sulma and I are very different kind of people, but we have similar goals. So that's how we work together. And the reason why I can travel the world with her is because we have opposite strength.
Yeah.
That's true.
We're completely different, and we have opposite strength, and we can work as a team.
Yeah,
that is so true. That is so
Exactly.
true.
That's another conversation, right, Audrey?
Yes, another one. We gotta keep it going. We gotta have session 2. Session 2 coming up.
All right, sounds
To be
great. Stay
continued.
blessed, ladies. All
Good
right.
night.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.